Avoid cancer for life. OptOutCancer.com. The confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh. It's an extraordinary day for America, but it's also an extraordinary victory for all of those who believe in food freedom, health freedom, medical freedom, individual liberty. And this is one of the biggest points that I want to get across here today, because we with this confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh, I think the Senate has saved America from the lunatic mobs of the left that have become deranged, screaming, babbling, nonsensical, just absolute mentally ill lunatics, screaming in the halls of the Senate, shouting at everybody. Just, these people they cannot participate in civil society. And I am so glad that Senator Susan Collins stood up against that mob, and Lindsey Graham stood up against that mob, and Grassley and many others stood up against that mob and said, they put out a very important message. They said that mob rule will not overrule civility and due process in America. And that was the most important outcome of this decision today. Now, even leftists or progressives, liberals, etc., who oppose Brett Kavanaugh, they don't realize that we saved them too. Because by confirming Brett Kavanaugh, we have put a man on the court who is going to fight for the individual liberties that many progressives desire and wish they could enjoy, such as the right to grow your own food in your own front yard, for that matter, the right to choose or reject the forms of medicine that you wish to use or not use. That's an individual right. Or, the right to defend yourself. These are rights that even progressives find very, very important in their lives. Food, medicines, self-defense in your own home, all of these rights. You see, liberal Supreme Court justices, such as Kagan and Sotomayor, they are collectivists. And what they want is a collectivism kind of society where the government tells you what you're allowed to do or not do, where the government determines what you're allowed to eat or grow in terms of a garden, or even the government can force you to take medicine that you don't want to take. These are collectivism principles that are pushed by left-wing Supreme Court justices. Well, even progressives who are pro-choice, and they may oppose Kavanaugh for that reason, but even progressives want to be able to say no to toxic conventional medicine. They don't want the state to come along and say, oh, we're going to force you to be injected with this toxic vaccine that's experimental, has no science behind it. But the government has determined that there's a special government interest in you being injected with this vaccine, so we're going to mandate it. That's a collectivism kind of thing. That's what left-wing court justices approve of. That's why California passed SB 277, which is a vaccine mandate in that state that was passed by leftists, because leftists are fascists, leftists are socialists, they're collectivists. And so they can force the government to inject you with toxic substances against your will. And they can force you to buy toxic processed food and outlaw you growing your own food in your own yard. But justices that protect individual liberty, like Kavanaugh, will vote in favor of protecting your right against the mob, your rights, your individual rights against the collective. And that's why Kavanaugh is so valuable to all of us, regardless of your politics. And that's why getting Kavanaugh confirmed was such a victory for all Americans, including the Americans who opposed him. They're crying and screaming like lunatics today that they lost, that Kavanaugh got confirmed. And yet they don't realize that it's because of efforts like mine and others who supported Kavanaugh that we have saved their future too. Those people screaming and crying don't realize that if they got what they wanted in society, they would be enslaved under a totalitarian regime where they have no rights and no freedoms whatsoever, and that they're nothing but slaves to the state. And that's what they want, it seems,